Hello again. This is Camille, CEO and founder at Rig on Wheels, and welcome to the Rig on Wheels show featuring MVT. And this is Pearson, which is the VP at Missoula Valley.
Yeah, it's good to be back. I'm
Yes.
excited to be here again.
Yeah, so we are the first of its kind of a truck driver recruitment show, as well as we got a lot of great, exciting things for you today. We got a special lane that we really like. I really like to talk about. We're going to talk about the car giveaway again. We're going to do some tips and challenges that drivers have, and go over driver questions that have already sent things in and still coming in right now. So welcome.
It's good to be here. Excited about the Q&A today. And
Yes.
we have a division to talk about that I like, the drivers like, we like, everybody wins.
Yes, definitely. Okay, so I like to just kind of jump in because I'm always excited about this car giveaway. I know I go all out of order with it, but it is one of the things that sets MVT apart when we talk to drivers about that. So can you explain a little bit more?
Yeah, as we talked about last week, there's two ways you can save money as a trucking company. One is, trying to skimp on paying your drivers, which we're not going to do. The other comes into fuel savings. So in an industry where we average about 6.5 miles per gallon, as a company, MVT averages about 9.5 miles a gallon. Some of that comes from technology, some of it comes from clean equipment, some of it comes from a number of small little things. But the number one thing comes from driving behaviors of our drivers, essentially how you operate the vehicle. Do you pre-plan accordingly? Do you take advantage of the running lanes? Do you, as an example, when you pre-plan, do you say, hey, I'm going to spend more time in the unit, I'm going to spend less time hard braking, accelerating? That has an impact on your fuel economy. So it's pretty competitive. We have approximately 1,900 drivers. Of our 1,900 drivers, most of our divisions are primed that they can take advantage of the opportunity. There's a couple divisions we have that are more mountainous in terms of where they drive, and they make good money doing it. But most of our divisions, I'd say 8 out of 10 are able to get pretty good fuel economy and get in that 9.0 to 9.5 range. So what we do on a quarterly basis, whoever gets the best fuel economy, we give them a brand new car. Every quarter, we were always worried prior to my time with the company that we'd have multiple winners winning it. Mm-hmm. Every quarter, it's been somebody new that gets that MPG bonus. And so we have the brand new car giveaway that we do. Generally, the last one we gave, I think, was a Nissan Sonata. It was really nice. We had a driver that was really excited about it, had less than 10 miles on it, so it was new.
That's a new car.
That's a new car. And so we got a dealership out of Las Cruces, New Mexico that works with us. We have a gentleman in the office that walks the driver through getting all the license taken care of and all that stuff, making it really clean and easy, and as well as the tax on it. And you have a new car sitting in your driveway, so when you get home, you get to enjoy your home time and a sweet new ride. On top of the car giveaway, though, annually, whoever gets the best annual MPG bonus also gets $25,000. So in theory, you could end the year with a brand new car plus $25,000 to go with it. So when you do have to fuel up, it's already paid for as well.
Well, heck, that could be a whole nother car for your wife or one of your kids or something like that. That's awesome. Now, I didn't know about that part of it. So we are definitely, at Rig on Wheels, going to be pushing that and letting the drivers know all about that. Now, I like to always talk about safety. So I want us to kind of dive into that when it comes to MVT, how you deal with safety, how important safety is, and some of the aspects.
Well, I'll start out with from a driver's perspective.
Okay.
I'll give any driver advice that you want to run with a carrier that's safe.
Yeah.
even though it's not publicly traded information anymore, we still have the CSA scores. There's 7 scores. There's a hazmat score, crash. There's a driver fitness score. We're one of the few carriers of our size that we have 0 categories of CSA over threshold. Why that's important is when we go talk to a potential customer. Customers, one of the first things they'll ask is, we want to see your safety score. So even though I said it's not publicly traded, your carriers, when they go to a shipper, they're going to ask to see that information. And when you get a company that has, say, 2 or 3 above threshold, a lot of companies have some liabilities. Some of the shippers will say, I don't want to have you moving our freight. And the fewer customers that will move freight for you, the fewer miles your drivers ultimately get. So one of the things any driver should ask of any recruiter is, hey, this company, how many categories of CSA are above threshold? Most recruiters should know that.
Yes.
If recruiters don't answer that, there's a reason why they don't answer that. It should be common knowledge. For most carriers, it's bragging rights. Everyone in the company would know about it. It's not that big of a secret, and they should be more than willing to tell you that. So it gets into the freight. It also gets into how you're able to utilize your time. So when we come up onto a weigh scale, or a chicken coop, if you will, when you go through that weigh scale, if you don't have any categories above threshold, you're statistically more likely to just get waved through it, not having to stop at that weigh scale. And your time is money. There is no greater asset as a driver that you have than your time and your expertise. And so if you're able to keep moving forward down the road, that's a big advantage of being a safe carrier. The next part of that gets into equipment, what kind of equipment that you have. There is a value in knowing the average age of equipment. Ours is about 1.5 years. With that said, if equipment's getting beat up to smithereens, that age starts to mean less because you got equipment that's rough. So that driver before you that took a truck and beat the crap out of it, when you get that truck as the next driver to get into that truck, there's a real issue there. And so that's where that other safety component comes into it, is, are you getting an piece of equipment that a driver took care of before you? The other part of that is we're really big on training and developing. So the driver that you come in as today is not the driver that you are a year from now. We have numerous training programs like the Smith system that helps with defensive driving and predicting what the people around you, the four-wheelers on the road, are going to do. We invest heavily in our drivers, the training that they receive, all of our trainers that deal with inexperienced drivers out of El Paso, all of our people that do road tests have been driving for at least 5+ years. So as an example, when you come into orientation and the DOT and FMCSA guidelines require us to do a road test, when we do that road test, you're not in there with some office person. You're in there with somebody that's driven at least 5 years and probably didn't have any tickets or accidents in that same time period. We take a lot of pride in our safety culture and ultimately giving you the tools to be successful on top of the experience you already have coming in.
So let's talk about the Smith keys. So when you're in a truck and you have all this fancy equipment, and we'll get into that later on in the show, but let's say you have a driver that's repeatedly hard braking. You know, things are happening in that truck. Tell me about that. Like, what do you do? How do you bring them in and help them?
Well, predictive driving is really important. Most accidents that involve a truck are not created by the trucker.
Right.
And this is why I know it's been a controversy over the last 5 years, but outward-facing cameras are a great thing. When you go to court and a jury goes, oh, it's the trucker, he's a professional, he must have caused it. I don't know how many tickets we've gotten out of because we go, no, we have the video evidence. And most juries in that situation will immediately go, oh, the four-wheeler was the one responsible.
Yeah, it's the proof.
And in most cases, those won't even go to trial because a good lawyer is going to understand, I'm not going to make money in this case at this moment. So the jackhammer, the strong arm, or the, I'm going to pile drive you lawyer with the billboard on the side of the road understands you got outward-facing cameras. I don't want to pursue this any further. But predicting what other people are going to do becomes really important in the Smith system. So as an example, if you're driving down the road and you see somebody changing lanes continuously, that tells you as a driver, you know what, I'm going to hold back. Maybe I'm not going as quick as I'd like to, but I'm going to avoid that. It may be I'm coming up on an off-ramp here. What's this person to the right and the left of me going to do in that scenario? As an example, the person on the left of me, if they decide to switch 3 lanes to get over to that off-ramp, what do I as the professional driver need to do? Probably going to let off a little bit in case that happens, so I'm not having a hard break as they go through 3 lanes of traffic to get off the interstate.
With saying that, one of the questions that came in was about accidents. So when an accident or if an accident happens, if you're in Houston, it's when, right?
Yep.
So if an accident happens, it should be the same procedure with every company, but walk us through MVT's procedure.
Yeah, when an accident happens, the first thing you need to do is reach out to us, talk to us, have that communication with us. Let's not worry about assigning blame right off the bat here. Find out first, I want to know, as you as the professional driver, are you okay? That's
Right.
the number one thing I want to know first of all. Okay, now explain the situation to us. What's around you? Is law enforcement on the scene yet? Are there any injuries that you know of? Give us a lay of the land. We'll walk you through the process at that point. So if you're talking to a cop, if you're talking to somebody that was a
Right.
bystander, we can be on the phone with you to have that conversation. Be it with Mesilla Valley Transportation or with any carrier. I feel bad saying this, but it's worth noting as a professional truck driver, do not utter the words, I'm sorry. Don't start
Right,
with, I'm
at
sorry.
all.
Because if you are not to blame, you've just labeled yourself as the person that caused the accident.
And that's exactly, even in my car, because you know you don't want me to drive a truck, but in my car, on the back of the insurance cards, it always says that. Don't say that you're to blame.
Absolutely.
Because that just changed the
And
narrative and everything.
it's our natural habit. I mean, if we were in the store and we're both reaching for a box of cereal and we reach at the same time, my first inclination, I'm sorry. I mean, it may have been incidental. I didn't technically cause the mishap in that aisle, but our natural instinct as a human trying to get along with another human is, I'm sorry. That is not the thing to do in an accident.
Yeah,
Do
not
not
at
do
all.
that.
Just hopefully you're safe
Yep.
and go from there. Definitely call in, listen to your dispatcher, your fleet manager, and everything. So what we're gonna do is first go to the first commercial, and then we're gonna come back because I have something to say about DOT.
Let's do it.
You know, you said something. Welcome back, everybody. Sorry, but you said something about the CSA scores and everything. And one thing that we talk to drivers about, and especially when they talk about, well, the truck is not governed, it's governed, or it's governed too slow, and we start talking about the scores. DOT is, I'm not saying they're not going to pull you over, but what I will say is they'll be less likely to pull you over when it's a company that has good scores.
Yep.
Versus a company that doesn't, versus a company where the truck is dang blasted, is almost falling apart. All of those different things, they're less likely to pull you over. So the governing of trucks, all of the safety regulations that MVT has is actually another thing that sets it apart.
Oh, and I've had some interesting conversations with people that work at the weigh scales, and they'll tell you, we're human. We remember stuff. And so if XYZ Trucking comes into the yard and they constantly fail on the roadside inspection, magically we start doing level 3 inspections on all of them. And it's they're paid to find stuff. It becomes a scavenger hunt for them, if you will. And so they're people, they're individuals. So if they don't get an alert off the camera, they're going to keep that in mind that, you know what, those trucks right there, the black trucks that come in or the yellow trucks that come in, always have an issue. We're going to go ahead and get you. And so that's why we like to affectionately call our trucks the Blue Beast. We want to make sure if they see a blue truck, there's not a problem that's going to come from seeing a blue truck.
And kind of what you just said, it brings me into relationship thought, right? So if you go looking for something, you're gonna find something.
Yep.
Okay, I don't think like that in a relationship. However, the truth is, yeah, if you go looking for something, you're gonna find something. So that's exactly what happens at the weigh stations and all of that.
Yeah, and if you get an overzealous person at the weigh stations, they'll find something on everybody. I think the DOT did a report that on Volvo, and Volvos are fine trucks.
Mm-hmm.
But if you take 100 Volvos right off the assembly line,
Oh yeah.
they will fail one of them. And
Yeah.
that's a brand new truck that's come off the assembly line, never been driven before.
Mm-hmm.
And so part of it's how you interact with the folks at the weigh scale if you do get stopped. The other part of that, though, is having a company that has good safety scores so that you're less likely to experience that.
Yes. Yeah, they're definitely trucks you want to have a little mouths on them, get everything off. And, you know, it's kind of like when I get my iPhone, I want to wait a few months so all the bugs get out of it and everything. Well, something I wanted to discuss because a driver afterwards made a comment. They know that we being Rig on Wheels and MVT partner up together, but kind of how the process works and what it looks like.
Yeah.
So I definitely want to address that more. Well, just like you see, or in the links or anywhere, you will be able to get the application, and it's a Rig on Wheels application. You would definitely fill that out, or you would just simply call 281-968-3100. Speak to a recruiter, extension 2 till 8. Speak to a recruiter to go over everything, get your application filled out. We do hard screening to make sure you're the type of driver that MVT wants, and more importantly, it's the job that you're looking for. Well, our job is to try to place you at your ideal company or ideal job for whatever reason, home time, it doesn't matter. So once we do that, we definitely get everything sent over, your completed application, and we get the front and back of your driver's license and your med card. Okay, you have everything already signed. It's a completed app. So it's a complete package basically going over to MVT. For one of the recruiters, I'm not going to call out any names, but I do have about 2 or 3 that are my favorites. But for one of the recruiters to definitely go through everything and then give you a holler. During that process, once one of Rig on Wheels recruiters has gotten off the phone with you, we'll send you a summary of the job. We'll text you letting you know that it is in your email just in case your Rig on Wheels email went to your spam or your junk folder. So you have that in black and white and are always able to refer back to it when you get on the phone with one of the internal recruiters. From that step, one of the internal recruiters, they're going to call you. They're also letting us know what's going on. We're staying in constant contact with you so we can be the liaison and the bridge to bring everything together. So all the way from if they miss a call or you miss a call, they reached out to you, you miss a call, we try to link those together, whether schedule a call back for you or get you right on a conference call. Then the internal recruiter is going to go through everything and answer any other questions that you have and start running your reports so we can get you scheduled for the next orientation date. Once that happens, everything is pulled, you're approved, and we're ready, then they'll definitely get you hooked up with all of the travel.
And I think there's a couple important things in that process that are really important to focus on. The nice thing with Rig on Wheels is they do represent other carriers. Even though I wish every single person they worked for was for MVT, they aren't necessarily for MVT. You might not be a fit based off of geography, work history, a number of other factors. So the nice thing is, though, if you're not a fit, they have alternatives for you. And so that's kind of a nice thing from your end, is they essentially work as your agent. You're a star baseball player, and Camille here is Scott Boras acting as your agent to find you the best opportunity, which is kind of a good thing for you. Yeah. On our end, why they're a trusted partner with us is they tend to do some of that pre-screening to find out, are you a fit with MVT? So by the time you get to us in that process, you will find that the recruiter that we have internally saying the same thing that Camille's team has said. Us talking from the same hymn sheet, if you will, becomes really important. because we want to make sure that you're not having any confusion based off of what your next career move is. This is not another job. We don't want you to come join MVT for 2 weeks and realize this is not what I wanted. We much rather have you come and go, I found a career path and I can see myself with this company for many, many years to come. And so the key to that relationship is having a relationship with both us as well as Rig on Wheels. Additionally, if you have other drivers that you know that you think may be a fit from Mesilla Valley Transportation, there's a referral bonus of $1,000. So you can go through Rig on Wheels. You can talk to Camille's team and say, hey, you know what, my friend, my brother, my cousin, they're also a CDL holder and they'd like to join in the job that I'm doing right now. Rig on Wheels will work with us to make sure that you get your referral bonus of $1,000, as well as them being taken care of as a partner of us, so that we can move forward to bring on your family members, friends, cousins, anybody else you want to bring on with you. And so they're a preferred partner for us. They do a great job. And what we find is by the time you reach us in that process, you know most of the job, but then we can get into the detail of it. And as you work with us, as we get closer to orientation, you'll find you'll still get calls from Rig on Wheels. How's it going? We talk to each other, so we know what's going on in that process, but they're going to want to continue to talk with you to make sure that you're happy with the career choice you've made.
And if you have any questions, sometimes you'll get off the phone with MVT and remember, oh, I have a question. You can call us back and we'll answer the question. If we don't know, we will find the answer for you. What we make sure we don't do is just answer something and we don't know what the answer is. That's not the point of it. It's definitely to find out your answer, what to fulfill your question is basically what I'm trying to say.
Absolutely. Every driver has a unique scenario, and as a recruiter, I look forward to the opportunity where I'm forced to say I don't know, because I get to find out an answer for you that I can know for the next person I end up talking to. So the big thing on our end that we talked about a little bit last week is over-communicate.
Yeah.
So if you can share, hey, this is really important to me, or this is a deal breaker for me, that is a great thing to communicate early in the process and often in the process so that you can be confident in the decision you've made.
Yes, most definitely. And one of the things, so we as recruiters, definitely, when you are in orientation, we're going to call you. We're going to text you. How's it going? What's going on? Do you have any questions? Also, something that we found out that MVT does that I love because it helps with retention and it helps answer questions and it brings somebody into orientation. But the recruiters, other departments as well, but the recruiters actually do round robin and go to the orientation so they can be able to talk to the drivers one-on-one. That is something that is not the norm these days in trucking from a mega company.
Yeah, I will tell you this. One of our strongest attributes of our department is that we have a recruiter on site at every orientation site. Things can get lost in translation. You may think of a new question. You may be sitting around 20 other drivers and they ask something that you're like, oh, that is important. I want to know that answer to that. So having somebody in recruiting specifically there to meet somebody face to face, just like we talked about last week in meeting your dispatcher and physically shaking hands with somebody, it becomes really important to put eyes to eyes. Those eyes to eyes is what creates that long-term obligation. So as much as I want to have a driver sitting in orientation, if you're not productive with us, if you're not enjoying yourself and you're not with us for another year, I really didn't accomplish much. I may have worked hard, but if you're not still with us, I didn't accomplish much. So we want to set you up for success and we have an obligation to do so. And so I like that handshake at the end of class.
Yeah, we want a success story. We want continuous success stories because the best way to get Rig on Wheels' name out and MVT is by you, the drivers.
I will always point out as a driver, think of how many times in your career, if you've done this 5+ years, that you went to an orientation, and during that orientation, you watched half the class trickle out. People get DQ'd. People decide the job's not for them. And what started of a class of, at a mega carrier, say 100 people, by the end of the class has turned into 40. We do not have those types of orientations. I'm not saying that we won't have 1 or 2 people fall out from time to time, but the reason is because we over communicate, we have that conversation, we go through your background. So by the time you get to orientation, we're ready to start working with you and you're ready to start working with us.
And you're not sent home. With the fact that Pearson did say that we recruit for quite a few companies, I can say this without a shadow of a doubt. If a driver goes to MVT 9.5 times, 9.9% of the time, they're going to actually be hired. They're not getting sent back home or anything like that. So that is huge on our our behalf.
Oh, yeah.
You know, it's huge. We don't want to waste the driver's time. So with saying that, it's about over communicating, being honest from the first conversation so we can know whether or not this is a fit for you. We don't want to harm you, make any mistakes or anything like that.
Well, and that's the key. Your time is very precious. The average truck driver, when they quit a job and start another job, loses approximately $4,000 to $5,000. So you know drivers on the road that have had 12, 15 jobs in the last 3 years and always seem to be broke. A big chunk of that is they're losing $4,000 to $5,000 with every one of those 16 jobs that they've had. And so we want a long-term relationship with you so you aren't constantly on the job market. So we don't mind you asking the extra question, taking the extra time and going, hey, what's my long-term goal here? If you do that, you're going to like the end result that you end up getting compared to a recruiter that's trying to slick talk you into a fancy new truck.
Facts. Absolutely. Absolutely. Okay, so the producer says that she has a question somebody asked. Okay. What's the question?
Hi, Camille.
Hello.
Yeah, so our first question is, how does your company promote a diverse and inclusive workplace culture? Can you tell us about that?
Okay, so I'll speak on Rig on Wheels' behalf. First, I will always, and I'm really big on DEI, so I will always have a recruiting and support staff that reflects the driver. It will never be one of anything, one age, one gender, one ethnicity, because our drivers are a lot of different things, you know, so, and fall into different categories, and everybody deserves to be represented. So not just ethnicity, but age. I have a recruiter that is 20 years old and she's in college, and then we have ones that are a little older, not much, not gonna throw anybody's name out there, but it's about that, different cultural backgrounds, different educational backgrounds, so we can be able to communicate with the driver and represent the driver.
Yep.
So that is huge. We also have recruiters that speak different languages, of course English, you hear me, but we have Spanish, Punjabi, Hindi. So we definitely try to represent as much as possible.
Yep. I'll also say there's two factors in the situation of Mesquite Valley Transportation. One, the nature of business that we do ultimately determines some of that diversity. So we have a large number of drivers that come to us through a B1 program. Essentially, they start out in Mexico. They do a lot of the cross-border freight. So for a lot of our U.S.-based drivers, those loads that start in Laredo, McAllen, El Paso, those drivers of ours on the Mexican side bring them across. Ultimately, they come drivers here once they become eligible to drive in the U.S. We have visa drivers that come from places like Zimbabwe, South Africa. Even our office staff is pretty diverse, including some of our recruiters, very own recruiters based in Lithuania. The second part of that, beyond just the driver part of it, though, if you look across our management team, there's not really a stereotypical person in the office either. Between race, religious views, political affiliation, any which way you want to slice it, there's pretty diverse things. So when I sit in a meeting with my coworkers that I'm having a meeting on, there's probably 8 different people there, and there's 8 different ways to think of a problem. And it ultimately makes us better. It may mean that the conversation takes a little longer because I have to theoretically figure out why you think the way you think.
Yeah.
Sometimes I may be right, sometimes I may be wrong, but the end product ends up being better because of it. So part of it is not to oversimplify it, but part of it's being a good person.
That part.
The other part of the equation is, do you make it easy for somebody that may not look like the other person to go ahead and succeed in their career? And there's some thought that goes into that, both from an HR standpoint, but honestly, if you're just a manager of people, that's one of the things you should be focused on, because you will end up looking better because of it.
Absolutely. It's about collaborative leadership, collaborative learning. You want everybody to be able to talk, have an opinion, and it comes from their background, regardless of what it is. And like you said, the conversation can get longer. You need to understand and ask different questions. So that one was good, Kayla. Do you have another one? I know that you were saying you have one more.
Yes, I do. We do have another one. In a male-dominated industry, how does your company prioritize safety, meaning what safety measures are in place to ensure the well-being of your drivers, especially women?
Yes. So a couple things here, and I'll never admit this to my wife, but women statistically are less likely to have a fatal accident. Women statistically are less likely to have a minor accident. Again, my wife will never know that I know that knowledge. With that said, our safety culture is built around that inclusiveness of the overall company. There's a lot of women that work for our organization. In the trucking industry right now, we're still in the single digits in terms of drivers in the industry. The big hindrance on that tends to be around schedule, especially for somebody in their 20s, 30s, and 40s. With that said, our percentage of women in our business is closer to about 17 to 18%, so about twice the industry average. A lot of this is built on the nature of the jobs that we have. So as we talked about schedule, part of what helps with that schedule is the jobs that we have set up that schedule, which is why we have a higher percentage of women in those jobs compared to our peers. The second piece of that, more specifically to safety, is if you're a woman, as an example, and you're going to get trained, you don't have that much experience, and you're going to get trained in the industry, there's a level of comfort being trained by another woman. It's not to say that you can't have a guy do it, and we have that happen as well. But having a support group, a peer group, something that you have in common. So it could be that you're a woman. It could be that you have, hey, you know what? You speak the same language as me. So we may speak English to our dispatcher, but when you and I talk, we speak the same language. Having that common trend or common bond helps to make the relationship easier. So for most carriers, not just MVT, once you start recruiting more women or more any group, it starts to be a domino effect that they feel comfortable going to people that they have something in common with. We don't hinder that. We want that to continue to happen. We end up as a much stronger organization because of it.
Awesome. So let's go ahead and go to our next commercial, and then we'll definitely get back and talk about the truck. So we want to talk about the innovation.
Mi nombre es Carlos Vázquez, tengo trabajando 3 años aproximadamente y somos B1 y andamos en territorio de Estados Unidos. Lo que me gusta de MVT es que tiene buenos viajes, buenos camiones y muy buenas millas. Mi comunicación con el despacho es muy buena y todo eso, y siempre están a la orden del día. ¿Qué pienso del equipo de los camiones? Pues que están muy bien y les dan sus mantenimientos, sus PO y todo lo demás, alineación y balanceo, todo, cambio de llantas y excelente servicio. La compañía cada trimestre regala un auto para los operadores. Me motiva pues a crecer más como persona y pues para dar el 100, como dicen, para la compañía.
Thank you, and welcome back everybody. So I wanted to talk about the innovation with the truck, but I want to do a little spin. Okay. So I want to talk about our favorite lane.
Yeah.
Okay, and that is going to be Division 329.
Yeah.
So Laredo, Houston. So for everybody that knows that, San Antonio and Dallas.
Yep.
So can you talk about
Division
329?
Division 329, I'd say the big selling point for 90% of drivers that get onto that is the running lane. If you live in the state of Texas or around the state of Texas, you'll know that it's a prime area to drive a truck. Mm-hmm. That's not to say that there's not traffic, there's not weather issues that come up from time to time. Trust me, when DFW gets hit with some tornadoes, that's definitely a weather event. But with that said, it's a lane that you're familiar with, and it's an area that you're familiar with. So you're going to see a lot of the Texas Triangle. You're going to see a lot of the borderlands. You're going to see a lot of the Panhandle in southern Oklahoma. So that running lane allows you pretty good length of haul, great customer base. We have a diverse and deep customer base in the state of Texas. It's all no-touch freight. None of it requires any endorsements. And you're never too far from home. So even though you get weekly home time, God forbid, if something happens at home, the wife calls up, or there's a family issue, or there's a big sporting event, you want to go to a Cowboys game, or you want to see the, I was going to say Oilers, that doesn't apply anymore. You want to see the Texans. It gives you the opportunity to do that with that type of running lane. but you're still going to be making $1,500-$1,600 a week. So you're able to budget. You're going to consistently make that money. You're going to get weekly home time. You're going to stick pretty close to home, and you're going to see a lot of the good customers that we have decades-long relationships. You'll see a lot of Starbucks. You'll see a lot of GE. We are picking up more and more of the Tesla stuff as it starts getting built out of Austin as the Gigafactory gets going. You'll see a lot of Lowe's, and because of that, you'll see a lot of the repeat customers, repeat lanes. You'll never be too far from home, and again, you're going to be at $1,500-$1,600 a week pretty consistently.
And I just want to say that is probably one of our most, we love that lane, Rick on Wheels. Mainly one thing, we're right here in Houston, so anytime we're talking to somebody in Texas, especially those areas, it seems very familiar.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's cool. What other lane would you say is similar to the 329?
You know, I'd probably go Division 150.
Okay.
And Division 150 on that adds it's the same running area as 329, but now adds the southeast to it. So you are going to see a bit of a longer length of haul. So as an example, the length of haul for Division 329, probably going to be about 300 to 400 miles long length of haul on average. You may have a length of haul that's 50 miles. You may have a length of haul that ends up, Texas is a big state. It could be 800 miles. With that said, if you add the southeast to it with Division 150, you're going to start hitting places like Nashville, the Carolinas, potentially Atlanta, Jacksonville, places along that end. It gets you the opportunity to stretch out your legs. So you're going to stop less often. Your average length of haul is going to be closer to about that 900-mile range. The pay-wise, you're going to still be in that same area, $1,500 to $1,600 a week. And there's a lot of contention between drivers in those two divisions of which does a better job because it's different. You just add the southeast to it, you get more variety. And so if you prefer Texas, 150 might not be for you because you're going to have to go to the southeast, but if you prefer the southeast, you'll definitely want to go there. Same hiring locations. We'll take somebody in Houston, DFW, Laredo, San Antonio, gladly for those divisions.
And I can attest to this with recruiting for quite a few different companies. It's not many in that area that's going to be paying $1,500 plus a week.
Yep.
And you home weekly.
And I'll throw a VIP in there, an extra one for you. Division 440, we're going to make a change here. Traditionally, we've been hiring out of Memphis for it. It basically runs Memphis down to Jacksonville, Jacksonville over to Texas, back up to Memphis. We're going to open the hiring up for the first time in Houston for that division as well for 440. It's not official yet. You guys know about it before anybody else. So we'll take drivers out of Memphis and Houston. That position ends up paying about the $1,500 a week, but you're going to run that triangle specifically going up to Nashville area. You'll come back down to Jacksonville, come back over to Houston, and do that loop over and over and over again. From Jacksonville to Houston, you'll see a lot of Lowe's. You'll see GE and some other customers in the other areas on that end. Again, all drop and hook, and like any of our lanes, we don't require anything like hazmat endorsement. We don't do doubles and triples. You're not going to get asked by a shipper to be a lumper. Hey, here's a rickety dolly. Can you unload the truck for us? Don't do that. We don't do that here. And it's a consistent running lane for us. So Division 440 if you're out of Houston and Memphis. If you're out of Houston, DFW, San Antonio, Laredo as an example. We can do Division 150 for you or 330. Trust me, if a recruiter has you already listing off the division that you want, they'll get excited. That was Division 329, not 330. Maybe it helps to know what you're talking about, not list off bad divisions.
Yeah, sorry about that. So what I want to let you all know, give us a call at 281-968-3100. If you're on YouTube, in the description box is the app link, but you can also go to rigonwheels.com and the link is there as well.
And I'll always point out, we list off those three divisions there, but again, we'll take people that live out of the Phoenix, Arizona area, places like Portland, Oregon, Salt Lake City, where we have similar engineered lanes. If you know anybody or you live in an area like Nashville, Louisville, Lexington, Kentucky, we have opportunities in other markets. We have about 18 other divisions that we can end up sharing with you. And so if you didn't hear a division that fits right into what you're looking for, we have 18 other alternatives. And so ask the questions.
Yeah, ask the questions. So that's going to lead me into another driver question, but I know one that a driver had, and it's an issue that we hear quite often, is that they sign up for one home time and then they get another home time.
Yep.
How would you help a driver with that? Because we know it's trucking, things happen, seasons change, freight changes,
Yep.
the end of the world happens, it's trucking. So how would you combat that?
Well, the first step in the process here is before you actually get to orientation, though, you're going to get your offer in writing. So specifically, if I tell you you're going to get home every 4 to 6 days, as an example, would be one of the options that we have with a couple of our lanes. You physically get it in writing. There's a map that shows the area that we expect you to run, literally the details of the job, the detail of your home time, how long you're at home for. Is it your truck or do you slip seat? Those types of scenarios are all put in writing before you ever show up to orientation. That's step one. The second part of this is we try to over communicate. Like I said last week, we pre-plan. We try to pre-plan 2 to 3 loads in advance so that you can make that plan on when you're going to be home. With that said, storms happen. There may have been an accident in front of you that caused a 3-hour delay in traffic. So when that happens, communicating with your dispatcher becomes really important, or your fleet manager. Your fleet manager's watching, and they're paying attention to the weather, they're paying attention to the traffic, but they do not have eyes on the scenes like you do. And so if those issues come up, A, communicate it. B, sometimes we're able to skip a lane. We're able to come up with some kind of what we call as a MacGyver option, where, give me a paperclip and a hockey ticket, and I'll MacGyver the situation. If we can do it, we will. If we don't, we're also going to make it up to you. It's not your fault that happened when that happens, and we understand. We want you to be successful and happy with the job that you have. We're going to try and make it up to you in some form or fashion. That varies by driver and location. The key thing here is if we communicate, though, we may be able to combat it in advance before it hinders you from getting home.
That's awesome. One of the questions that the producer sent is talking about the truck, the equipment, modern technology, all of the safety features. But I know for a fact that MVT has a video talking about it. It's a couple of minutes long. So let's just definitely play that video, because that will answer a lot of these questions right here. And then Pearson will be able to elaborate.
At Mesilla Valley Transportation, every driver is behind the wheel of a late model International LT, a truck that takes comfort, convenience, and safety to a whole new level. Join us as we explore the impressive features of this powerhouse on wheels. The open road is full of surprises, and sometimes that includes unexpected encounters with wildlife. But worry not, the International LT has you covered. The front end protection guard offers an extra layer of defense, protecting you from animal strikes. Drive with confidence, knowing that you're shielded from the unexpected. We all know how important it is to keep our batteries charged, and our International LTs have your back. The Cummins X15 is equipped with an auto start featuring, ensuring that your batteries are automatically recharged when they run low on volts. It's a seamless process that keeps you powered up and ready to hit the road. Disc brakes and an engine brake provide reliable and safe stopping power when you need it most. You can have peace of mind knowing that you're in control. Safety is at the forefront of what we do. Our International LTs are equipped with top-of-the-line safety features to ensure your well-being while out on the road. These tractors are equipped with Bendix fusion protection, collision mitigation, and lane departure warning. Achieving good fuel efficiency deserves recognition. With the International LT, your efforts don't go unnoticed. When you consistently achieve impressive miles per gallon, the International LT rewards you with increased speed. It's a little extra motivation to keep you pushing for better fuel economy. After a long drive, you're ready for a well-deserved break. With the International LT, you can enjoy your rest period in absolute comfort. Thanks to its auxiliary power unit, you can keep the driver's cabin heated or cooled just the way you like it. No matter the weather outside, you'll always find your sweet spot within our International LTs. The International LT understands that comfort extends beyond driving. It's a space where you can truly feel at home. I'm a big guy, and I have room to move around in here. With plenty of room to spare, the International LT accommodates even the tallest drivers. And there's ample storage for all your clothes, cooking essentials, and tools, making life on the road even more convenient. Speaking of cooking, bring along your appliances and don't sacrifice any luxuries thanks to all of our International LTs being equipped with built-in inverters. Dry your hair, make a smoothie, or play a game, all from the comfort of your truck. We take pride in our well-maintained fleet. And if by chance you do come across something wrong on your truck, you're never far from help thanks to our valuable relationship with Penske. With more than 750 brick and mortar Penske shops nationwide, their expert team is always ready to assist you. From routine maintenance to unexpected repairs, they'll get you taken care of and back on the road in no time. And there you have it. Just a few things about this late model International LT that make MVT the place to be.
Okay, welcome back. So because he talked about safety, he talked about the height in the truck because we have drivers that are tall, a lot of storage, and then being able to bring your appliances for cooking. So we'll get into that because that's a tip I do want to point out. But anything else you want to point out about the truck or anything? Because I know he did a great job in it.
Yeah, the key on that truck's comfort. Our trucks are equipped for a driver to stay out 2-3 weeks at a time. They don't. We get most of our drivers home every week. But that truck's about comfort. And that's the thing is, as a driver, that truck is your home while you're on the road. The ability to not have to worry about buying a power inverter so you can live comfortably. Part of being a good truck driver is budgeting and being able to save money and bring money back home. That truck allows you to do that where you're not having to eat out every single meal because you're able to have a refrigerator. You're able to have your appliances going. Trust me, we have a lot of drivers that if you get in the truck with them, they look like Gordon Ramsay because they can cook in that truck.
Yeah.
And they're good at it. But that's ultimately how you save money. There's really good money in the trucking industry, but there's also really a lot of ways to lose money in the trucking industry. And going and eating at the truck stop for breakfast, lunch, and dinner is one of the ways that if you ever meet a trucker that's continuously working and running a ton of miles but always seems to be broke, the first thing you want to ask is how many meals do you eat at the truck stop? Chances are that's going to be the first culprit. So that truck's really a financial resource for you and helping you save money while you're on the road.
Yeah, I want to point that out. And that was a good segue into what I wanted to say about the appliances because it's saving money and being budget conscious on the road because you're literally living on the road. Even if you're doing a 3.5 loop or just a week, you're still living on the road. It's not exactly like being at home. So being able to bring the appliances, your air fryer, you know, I bought a real nice fancy one here. So that's the first thing on top of my mind. But the blender, so you could be able to have your breakfast smoothies and all of that stuff. So not only being budget conscious, but being health conscious.
Yep.
Because stopping at those truck stops is even worse than eating the fast food at your favorite fast food restaurants.
Yep.
And then if you're on some type of healthy diet or healthy lifestyle, like I'm trying to be, right? Yes, I might get meal prep plans, or I can run and get something for Chick-fil-A. However, but if I'm able to cook at the job or at inside of your cab, it makes a big difference.
Oh, it does. And we work very closely with Rolling Strong. And Rolling Strong will work with you on exercises and things that you can do to stay physically active while you're in the truck. But you can do all the sit-ups and push-ups in the world. If you don't eat healthy, it's not going to matter.
No.
And so that's the key part of it, is not only giving you the tools with Rolling Strong to be successful health-wise in staying active while you're in the truck, but more specifically setting up an environment within the truck that you're able to live a healthy lifestyle becomes really important. Again, that's where we view the relationship as a long-term relationship. I don't want to work with you for a couple of weeks. I envision a long-term, multi-year relationship with you. So it behooves us to have you living a healthy lifestyle.
Yeah, so I definitely want to point that out as a huge tip right there, is because it's the healthy lifestyle and it also is being budget. And then sometimes we'll have drivers saying the reason why they need more home time is because of that.
Yeah.
And so if you have a nice truck, you know you'll be able to bring your appliances on. That's huge, because we have companies that are still not really friendly with that.
Yeah.
And so MVT is. So if you all are looking for a job, which I know you are, definitely give us a call at 281-968-3100. The website is there too, wigonwheels.com, also with the application. So you'll see us here same time next week on Tuesday. Definitely send your questions in. You can do them live, kind of like you did today, or you can email the questions to us or text the questions directly to that telephone number, 281-968-3100. Thanks, Pearson, for another good show.
Appreciate it as always. Excited for the Q&A next week.
Yes.